So the tunnel, the peas are just going to town on this. I am absolutely loving it. So I will walk through there in a second. Over here, we've got the volunteer tomatoes from the greenhouse, stalk, and in between the stalk and the drumstick flowers, we have lettuce and beet greens and carrots at the very end. And then on the actual tunnel, I have beans, lots and lots of pole beans. So those will go crazy, I'm sure, pretty quick. And then the peas are doing really well, and the alyssum is enjoying this spot too. So I think that'll be really pretty. And we do have a couple of these tomatoes mixed in, so as soon as the peas are done, I'm just gonna cut them at the bottom. I'm not gonna pull them out. What will happen is that'll give the tomatoes a bunch of space, so I'll cut them at the bottom and pull the peas off the cage, but I'm not going to actually pull the roots. More of the alyssum. I sprinkled it everywhere this year. Beet greens, I need to pull those actually pretty quick here. There's some ageratum in there, a couple ageratum, some carrots here. Oh. They seem pretty small still. I'll try this one. That's not bad. I'll give them to the dogs. Figured I'd grow some carrots while the onions were still little. So pull a lot of those over the next week or two. This is a Torhina chili, or sorry, Torhina cherry. Not a tomato, not a pepper. These looks much better. It was looking really sad there for a bit. I did sprinkle more dill seeds because this is doing really well as an interplant. So, and we want a bunch of dill, so that will be really good. I'm excited to start eating that as well. Probably use some for salad dressing this week. I don't think I actually showed you guys, but I picked a bunch of peas earlier this afternoon. And so Jace had a quick snack. Should have more soon. And some of these onions, I don't know what the difference was, but some of them just went nuts. So we'll see how I do there. Another tomato. There's a bunch of different tomatoes in here. This is kind of going to be the fun wall of tomatoes once the peas go by. All the different colors and shapes and sizes. So that'll be really fun. I think it will be fun anyways, having it on the trellis. And then the pole beans will come from the other side. And I did plant a couple watermelon seeds. We'll see if they actually do anything. Where I don't plant onions, I pretty much always plant carrots or lettuce and basil, and then some flowers. So I have my main crops that I'm always focused on. And then I've got all the stuff that I plant in and around the main crops. The compost we got was really weedy this time. So we are, I do have 2 bales of straw to put down. Just so you know, straw and hay are different. Usually straw is the less seeds. I can't say it's always seedless, but it tends to be less seeds and the one you want for your gardens. Whereas hay will have the seeds in them more so. I was also thinking about using some sawdust from the wood mill, a portable wood mill that we have, but I don't know much about that yet, so I need to do some research. So if you guys are aware, let me know. I need to come and pick some lettuce tonight or tomorrow morning. Look at these leaves. Pretty excited about that for lunch tomorrow. forgot to pick today, which is a bummer, and our salad spinner broke, so need to order a new one of those. I'll try to do Amazon tonight and see if I can get it tomorrow or the next day. Our flat leaf parsley is doing pretty good in this bed. I did scatter some onions in here. I think you guys probably already saw that. Some alyssum, lettuce, and the parsley here around where the garlic didn't grow. And I do have the starts of garlic scapes. So these ones seem to be smaller by a lot. And I did crowd them a little bit at the end of last year when the wild turkeys dug them all up. So we'll see how the harvest is on them. Our garlic is doing really well. I was kind of nervous on how it would do down here. See, some of the scapes are coming in. So I won't be too long before we actually have a couple of these that are really ready to be picked, which I'm excited about. There's 4 different varieties of garlic here. This is the big gap here where the turkeys dug out a bunch of the garlic, and some over here. You can see a couple missing over here. Those are all the ones that I moved over to the raised bed garden. They took them out about a month after I planted them, or so. I think it was in November. So it's kind of in a scurry of, do I try to plant them back here or not? And I didn't know which ones they dug up and which they didn't. But overall, it's pretty good. It's interesting. So you can tell the varieties are different. This row is all going to scape all at the same time. And this is all, I believe, maybe it's 2 different types. I think from here, these sticks over is one type, and here over it's another type. But this row seems to have gone to scape a lot earlier than the other 2 rows. This last row, up until about here, you can kind of see changes, and then there's like all the extra that I had went here. So there's like 3 different types just in this last little section here. These potatoes are taking off, which is great to see. So very happy with that and how they look. I'll keep on trying to get to them. It's been pretty dry last week. So my first try at sweet potatoes are these 2 beds here and here. So 2 different types. I don't know much about them. I wanted to try them. The dogs love them as a treat as well as we love them, and we're thinking maybe making some sweet potato chips for the pantry would be really fun. So we'll see how these go. From reading on it and talking to people who grow them, sounds like people grow them from 10 to 18 inches apart. Recommend to do only double rows, and I did a triple row here. There's 15 in this 8-in-1 Birdies Raised Bed. So it may be a little slightly overcrowded. And I'm thinking of doing straw, but I need to make sure that straw is good with these guys. We have the new 6-in-1. So I have 2 more of these that I was checking out on sizing. And I need to get this filled and broccoli planted. I'm really late on that one. I've got the transplants to put in here from this plant swap from a friend, but the space here is a little wider than our normal aisle, so I'll be adjusting that. But I couldn't decide if I wanted it in line with that other lower bed, because these whiskey barrels are supposed to get moved, and we should have another one over there. Or if I'd leave this as an extra wide, or if I pull this in and have the same consistent. I think it's about 3 feet or so in between the beds on this side versus the 56.5 inches, I think, where we have it in between the beds here. And that was decided because we had wheelbarrows and garden carts that I wanted to be able to fit in between these aisles and still be able to walk around it, or have Jace walk around me if I'm working out here. That was really important to me, to have a little extra space than just the garden cart space. And then the smaller walkways will fit the wheelbarrow there. In this Birdies 8-in-1, I have planted a few more peppers on the end. I was gonna put flowers and I needed more space for more plants. So there's 2 cayenne peppers here. I think I walked by, there's a whole bed of cayenne peppers back there. So now I have 17 in the ground, I think, for cayennes. And then most of these are the variety of sweet peppers. There's Red Picnic, California Wonder. There's, let's see, Orange Picnic. There's a couple bells, and then there's the Escamillo, which I'm excited about. So a few of these I really need to come back and prune. You don't want any leaves touching the ground especially, but I want this little guy to be focused on upward growth, not on fruiting yet. So we want to make sure that these stems are tall enough to hold the fruit without the fruit touching the ground. But we also want to make sure that the stems are strong enough to hold a full-size pepper. A lot of these are actually like long and skinny. This bed has a lot of weeds, so I need to make that a priority. Nice thing about these beds is I can take 10 minutes and come out here and weed usually 2 beds in that time, being that there's no crouching down or anything like that. You'll notice this bed is a little bit smaller than the others. So this one and the regular potato bed behind me are 9-in-1s, Birdies Raised Beds, versus the rest are mostly 8-in-1s. This bed I have some volunteer, I guess you could call it, maybe, asparagus. So when I was pulling up the asparagus from the whiskey barrel that I moved already, I thought I'd just thrown some extra like dead roots into the bottom of this bed before we topped it off. But turns out that some of it was alive. So I gotta figure out what to do with that. The fennel is actually doing really well, which I'm excited about. Never grown fennel before. Just think it's a really cool plant, and Jay wanted to try it. So I figured I would try growing it from seed. And this one seems to be doing a little bit better as well. These back ones are poblanos, and these front ones are guajillos for peppers. Basil all around, and I did actually put some carrot seed all around this as well. So I did upload a video earlier about our lower and lean tomato trellis, and I still have a lot of work to do on this one. Hopefully I'll get some time tomorrow. The trellis is awesome. Jace did a really great job. The full video's just one of the previous posts, so you can check that out. These guys, I finally got first grouping done, and then I've pruned the bottoms of all the rest of them, but I need to string up the rest. And Jace was able to get all of the spools up for the lower and lean method. We have some monster tomatoes already, which I'm really excited about. Most of the early ones are Cherokee Carbons, which tend to be the same as the last couple years when I've grown the Cherokees, or the Cherokee Carbons, I should say. It's a carbon and a Cherokee purple cross. So, kind of fun, but really happy with how big some of these ones are for my early tomatoes. It'll be fun to have. And the onions are doing really well. I did weed this whole bed as well, so I really need to come back in and put the straw down before more weeds come in. So that is on the list this week as well. We did have a couple of casualties from the trellis going up. Not that unsurprising. I think Jace dropped this board a couple of times. Once that I saw, I'm guessing he dropped it more. But I think I'll be able to save that tomato plant, so not too worried about it. So there's about 300 onions and 50 tomatoes in this bed, and then there's a bunch of celery, ageratum, and alyssum. The ageratum color never shows correctly on my screen. It's a really great color, a really great purple. So if you like purples, I like it. So that's a fun annual to grow for us here. So these will still get pruned a little bit more once I tie them up, but not before. It's really good to have some extra suckers just in case you do break off a top here and there. And I need to fertilize this bed, and I'll probably give it some CalMag as well. So there's some basil on the back side. And I was toying with planting some more lettuce in here once my lettuce starts in the greenhouse are up a little bit higher. I might put some, they really do well with the shade of the tomatoes, so intercropping those has been really successful for me the last couple years. So on the back too here, we've got tons of onions, more celery, and the tomatoes in this bed are the 2 ounces. So this is a 2-ounce bed. We've got Mountain Magic and Tangerine. They're both 2-ounce slicers or mini slicers. They're like kind of like a tomato on the vine tomato. And then I put a bunch of red onions in the middle here. You can see some basil and some celery. Actually, I think that's celery. Celery and the flat leaf parsley look so much just like it's really funny. I should actually know what it is. But by doing the lower and lean and keeping them really pruned like I do, I'm able to put crops underneath the tomatoes really easily. So it's one of the benefits I have of doing this. This style, it gives me a little bit more space for things, some weeds in there. Some alyssum in the center here. Onions and stalk, the cut flowers. Onions everywhere. These 2 beds of tomatoes are San Marzanos. They're indeterminate paste tomatoes. My plan was to put these, what is it? I don't even know how many are in there, 6, 8 tomatoes. My plan was to put all of these into cages and do a kind of an experiment of lower and lean on that bed to cages on this bed. But I haven't gotten the cages out from our storage down in our lower lot and washed them up yet. So I don't know if that's going to happen because I'm not sure I'll be able to fit them, even though they're the large upside down ones. I'm not sure I'll be able to fit them onto these these big monsters here. I still need to prune the bottoms, so even if I do them in cages, so that they help with diseases or reduce disease. The basil looks really happy. The stalk looks pretty good in this bed. Onions, and then a bunch of the ageratum here. If you can think of something I'm missing, let me know. I would love to know what I forgot to plant. This one I have more carrots. And there's a gigantic ancho or something like that. These are jalapenos, pepperoncinis. There's 2 types of pepperoncinis in this bed. Onions, got some dill that I put more seed in here too for, and lettuce, beet greens that I need to come cut. What else did I do? Oh, celery, and I've got the parsley, grasshoppers too. Serranos in the back there. So, and alyssum, because I have it in almost every bed now. So we did get 2 more rows of corn planted. I'm watering right now. They are the middle rows, and that is sugar buns, which is a sweet corn, which we really liked last year. And then the last row that's already up is called Delectable. And then over here we've got pumpkins. We have pie pumpkins, giant pumpkins, and summer squash on these hills that I really need to tent. I'm gonna try to show you guys without getting too wet. the corn over here. Looks pretty good though. So that's good. Then we've got the onions. These are the ones from Johnny Seeds, Select Seeds. These were my backups that I bought seedlings from Johnny's Forge in case mine didn't do well, since last year mine did horribly. And Jace actually was able to get late last night, I think it was late last night, the drip tape or drip hose in here. So they're the same thing we have for the corn, same lines. Each one of these is a turn valve, so that's kind of nice. And we have them running through each of the piles of squash as well, getting to the corn rows. So I like this kit quite a bit. I'm pretty happy with that. Over here I've got the tomatillos at the end of the onion row, end of the garlic row, and lots of this because of all the bugs they attract. So because they attract so many bugs, I didn't want them in the main part of the garden. I figured they can just pull the bugs over here. And I'm gonna 2 to 3 more that I need to start of the purple variety. So we'll see. I may end up putting them in the hoop house, but I did have a little bit of a space at the end of that corn row there that I was thinking about putting them. Over here, I planted a bunch of variety of pumpkins, some of the really tiny ones, some of the jack-o'-lantern, and some watermelon that can kind of go this whole area. Just don't tell Jace. He's gonna get mad at me. But I thought it was good use of this space. I've got asparagus over here. This is the asparagus I moved. Pretty happy with it. And then I put some extra stock that I had here. Something ate some of the stock and some of the stock died. I don't know what's going on over on this area, but I threw in a bunch of asparagus seed that I had also into this section. Need to prune back the stump growth here. And then this garden looks really sad right now. So the plan was really get bulbs in here last fall, and then put some perennials in here that I started from seed this year, and then maybe even collect some more perennials throughout the season, or annuals that will be self-volunteering and self-dropping things. So I did put some Big Blooms fertilizer down in this area. I moved the rose bush, which I need to cut back and water this area, and I put some yarrow that I started from seed, some bee balm that I started from seed clumps here. I threw some poppy seeds in here. I've got the borage that I started from seed over here. I believe that's a poppy back there. Maybe a poppy over here. I think we'll see how else everything else does. The iris that was blooming is gone by now. There's another one that's about to bloom up there. I have peonies to put in here. I've got hollyhocks to put in here that I'm really behind on. So we'll see how everything goes there. Over here, I still need to seed all of this. I think I'm gonna try to seed this really quick this week with a bunch of the zinnia seeds that I have, and see if I can get that going. I may see if Jace will put another T-post up here so I can move that sprinkler from the 3 different locations for watering purposes. Right now these aren't getting watered, these are just growing and doing their own thing. So for the most part I'm pretty happy with that. These are statice here. I've never grown statice before, and I've never grown them from seed especially. So that was interesting. I have a bunch more to put in some of these spots here that I tried and killed them. I think I planted them on a really hot weekend and we ended up having 90-degree weather after, and this black plastic just really cooked them. But now they seem pretty healthy, the ones that have made it. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'll take that as a win. And then, there's a weed. That's the first weed I pulled from this whole bed, so I'd say that's a win as well. These are all the stock. And stock like to be kind of stood up, and I'm not sure I'll actually get to that, so they might just do their own thing here. First year ever growing those as well, so excited to see how it goes. And then we've got this whole other row that I was going to do probably a lot of sunflowers in, so I'm excited about that. And need to get the Jace to burn the holes for those and get that going. But lots going on in the gardens. Very busy time. I will do a greenhouse update separate. Otherwise I would keep going forever tonight.